Hey everybody, it's Miss Day. I wanted to talk to you about watercolor. So first I just want to go over some of the supplies. So if you guys at home would like to go purchase some of the supplies, you can also make arrangements with me to come by and I could give you supplies as well. So as far as paper, this is probably where you don't want to skimp. This is probably where you want to go ahead and spend the money. The paper that I recommend is 140 pound. It's very thick. And this is cold pressed rough 140 pound paper. And so if it gives you this sound when you flick it, then that's what you want, okay? You can do a 90 pound paper. It's just not as thick. So this is what I'm talking about, 140 pound. This is a watercolor pad. It is rough. You could purchase something like this. You could probably find this at maybe Walmart or definitely Michael's up at 635 in MacArthur. I purchased some of these paints. I am willing to pass them out and give them away to students that need them. They were very inexpensive, and you can see here it does have several colors available. Brushes, you should be able to find brushes fairly cheap. The thing about watercolor brushes is you want them to be very fluffy. So this is called a mop brush. This of course would be for painting larger areas, but this is how fluffy watercolor brushes tend to be. Okay, what will come with your paints if you buy the pan set is probably something like this. It's like a little mop brush. So it's a round, but it has this mop brush type end on it. Okay, of course there's also fan brushes, which you can get some pretty cool effects. This with the really long bristles on here, this is a liner. This is for really doing like writing and calligraphy. And of course you just have your standard round and brights, angles, and then we also have flats. I purchased these as well, and I am willing to give you one or two of these. I do have several different sizes, and you can see a flat is just a longer version of a bright. Brights just have shorter bristles. Okay, so for you guys that'll be here, you'll have your own paints. You'll put your name on your paints. And I'm also going to give you this little container for your brushes. You'll put your name on your container. So they'll be your brushes, your paints. You'll be the only one that touches them, and you'll keep them on the shelf here in the classroom because you can't put wet paint into your backpack. So once you get your supplies, really I just want you to explore it. So the main thing to know about watercolor is that it has to be wet. It has to be wet, okay? So when you start with your painting, make sure you have a wet brush and that you put some water on top of that paint and just kind of drag your brush across it lightly. You don't want it to be sticky. You want the paint to be very watery. And the more water it has, the more transparent it will be. So you can do some experiment and see what the transparency looks like. And of course, to make it darker, you would just build up layers. So this will be something that you can play with. Try the different brushes, see how they make the brush stroke look different. So this is just a round. The other one was like a watercolor brush. This is a round, so it's got a little bit crisper line. It doesn't hold as much water as the mop brush would, so it's going to run out of paint quicker. This is the brush that came with the paint. Let's see. This is what, so just lightly drag it across. Don't get it sticky, because watercolor paint is made with gum arabic and the pigment, and the gum arabic actually never dries. So, you know, if you get too much of it, then it's just going to stay wet and sticky forever. So make sure that you have enough water that it will create a very thin layer, just enough to hold your pigment to the page. And of course, treat your paints well. Make sure you wash your brush between changing colors. And don't gouge into them. Make sure they're wet. Make sure you add clean water to the paint before you start, and then just lightly brush across the top. You don't have to dig your paintbrush into it. Just there you go. And you can practice and see what your paints will do. And for our next video, I'd like to do brush strokes. And I'm going to show you exactly how to create different brush strokes. And then for video number 3, we'll go into techniques. And I'll show you all the different things that watercolors can do. Good luck.